This is the v3R version 1.4 update video. It's going to go through some of the new features and a couple of little bug tweaks that we fixed as well. So first of all, let's work on the new clear holographic foil. So this is for hot foil stamping type effects where you actually use a dedicated foil. Not to be confused with a holographic foil, that's a rainbow holographic. This is clear, transparent rainbow foil. And again, not to be confused with holographic film, which is like a lamination process, which is not to be confused with lamination, which is just a clear. So make sure we get the right one. So we're going to bring that one in here. And on this file, we have a design that's going to be CMYK with a pink and the clear foil. And I'm going to demonstrate it in two different ways. So clear holographic foil. So let's go to the sidebar. We're going to go and open up the layers, and we're going to switch this to one of the presses like the Swiss key print. And in the rainbow holographic, we have a few different sliders in here. So rainbow frequency is the same as what we have with our foil separation tools, is that the frequency is how quickly the change of color will modulate and swap around. The pattern complexity is how crazy the pattern is. Vibrancy, how much color there is. Coverage variation is how much of the design shows with the effect, and I'll explain that in a minute, and then transparency. So let's have a little play around. First of all, let's whack up some of the colour vibrancy. Now, it doesn't look very colour vibrancy at the moment. It doesn't look too colourful, but when we bring this out into the light, you will then start to see how the colour starts to appear. Now don't forget, because it's transparent, you're going to have some of that colour coming through. Now if you'll notice that we have the effects appearing and disappearing, so if you see over here, we get things that will appear and disappear as you move the print, the way that a clear holographic foil would work. So what's happening there is the coverage variation. Let me just switch it off. So if we have it off, then the entire sheet is showing you that rainbow holographic at the same time. If we have it switched on, we can control how much of the effect we see. It's like a cloud formation, so we can see through it. So we've got that pattern complexity, how crazy is the pattern, and the modulation, how quickly it will change colour. Now you can also add on things like hot foil stamping, which gives it a slight highlight and shading edge, and of course we can then add in new features. Now speaking of new features, you'll see down the left hand edge of here we've got these blue bars. This basically means it's a collapsible section, so it basically will help group different sliders. So the clear rainbow is grouped in this one. If I want to work with these foil sliders, the textures, it's got its own little section. So it's just to help identify and have everything separate out. So let's try one now. Let's do a brushed. Let's change the pattern strength and the scale, maybe it's like that. So that's fine. Collapse that down. Now you'll also notice now we've got a little blue dot. That basically means it's active. So we've added an effect though, so we can visually see if we've got something added to a layer. So at the moment there's no blue dot on the foil. Let's raise that up. Let's give it some height and a little bit of bevel. We've now got that blue thing. So we can save that as a preset. This did come in as an unknown foil because it had a random name. So I would always recommend saving presets and not saving the default if you've got an unknown name. Otherwise, every time you bring it in, it will look like this clear. Now, that is how it works. Now, let me just switch off this at the moment. Let's now go back to just a basic non-textured, etc. Let's just switch that off. So now let's switch off all of the color layers. Oops, wrong one. Let's go to the substrate. We're going to do this in a clear material. We're then going to switch off all of the CMYK. So just switch off all the layers and just bring back the rainbow clear. And then we're going to switch the room environment to indoors so we can see what it looks like. So I just wanted to show you how that rainbow effect looks. So obviously we've got the substrate to clear. So we can now see that really bright holographic effect because there's no ink to come through. So you've got to remember that when you've got ink coming through, light's going to go through the holography and then you're going to see the ink coming through. So if you have pink below it, it's going to take on sort of that appearance. So there we can see how things will appear and disappear, and just to show you that modulation, how we can change it, and then you'll see different things coming into view at different angles. So that's how that new rainbow holographic works. So what else did we add in here? Well, we added in a pearlescent substrate. So let's go in here and do something really quite simple. We're going to be working this time on a white paper. Just bring that in as a white paper onto here. and this is going to have just a foil at the moment. So we've got a bronze foil, so let's do that as hot foil stamping. Maybe it's a little bit more reflective. Set your foil up the way that you want it to work, so do check out the other video tutorials on how all the foils work. Now what we're going to do is a different substrate, so let's go to the substrate controls, and we've got a new one, pearlescent. So we've been building this, it's taken a little bit longer than we had anticipated, so it wasn't available in the first version. Now there are some pre-built pearlescent effects in here, so you can go to the drop-down menu and you can bring up things like rose pearl or whatever it is. We can, let's have a look at my ones that I added in the other day, so this one here. We can control the pattern strength in here. So first of all, the scale of the pearlescent effect, is it quite fine or is it kind of quite coarse? Now we also can change the strength, so how intense the pattern is. I'm just going to keep it up at full for now. And then we've got the intensity and the colours over here. So I'm going to explain how all this works. So for example, we can have a start colour and an end colour. So at the moment we're looking at the start colour. If we then move it off to the side, we'll then see this kind of whitish, kind of lightish pink that's coming in from this flop colour. Now to show you how that might work with another design, let me just bring up one of my pre-saved presets that I created the other day. So this one has a blue to green flop. So all I did was that on this one is I changed the two colours. Now the paper colour comes in if you want to do something a little bit more creative. So with the pearl intensity at 100%, it means literally the colour is going to take over the entire sheet. If I drop this down, I can actually start to build colour from the base layer itself and then add colour over the top in different ways to kind of tint how things work. So you can see how we can change all the colours and appearance. So by combining all these different things, you can create some quite interesting effects to match all the different types of pearl materials that are out there. And if I give it 100%, I've got 100% of the fade face colour and 100% of the flop colour. Now below that, you've then got the flop sharpness. So what is that? What does it mean? Well, at the moment, we've got a smoother transition between the actual pearlescent flakes. So pearlescent is a mica pigment, so we've simulated the mica pigment inside this. If I create that as a sharp, basically a hard edge, it's more like a glitter. So some pearlescent papers have this really kind of intense kind of effect. More usually it's kind of like a silvery kind of effect, and you probably get it somewhere around about here, and you wouldn't obviously have these colours. I'm just trying to show you something a bit more suitable. I've also got the intensity down, so I'm seeing some of that green coming through. So you can play around and get an idea of how all of this works to try and match substrates. So the idea is get some samples from substrate companies, have a look at them, see how they're made up, and then you can determine how you want them to appear. So that's sort of kind of a sharp. If I bring this flop sharpness down, it'll go smoother transition. So now I've got a much more natural flop between the two. As always, we can change reflectivity, make it a bit more glossy, and kind of like more metallic looking, as you can see here. We can also play around with metalness, how much of the grainness comes through from the material, reflectivity, and then if we have any forecolor over the top, we can control how that dulls down the metallic effect of the pearlescent. So that's the pearlescent section. We can say all different effects. So have a little play around with it. You can see that with the beautiful hot foil stamping on that gold foil. So if you're doing things like wedding invitations, you might be doing something. Let's just go to something more like one of the champagne ones, maybe a bit more subtle in the scale. So something just going to give you a little subtle, delicate effect. And again, you can control all of this. So if you want it to be, whiter, just set the colour. So great way to be able to do that sort of stuff. So what else have we got? Well, the last one I'm going to show you is the tone curves. So let's jump into that now. Let's go with this test file. I've got one that I made up earlier. So the question is, what is a tone curve? Why do we need it? And as a designer, do you need to know about it? Well, first of all, no, you don't really need to know about it if you're a graphic designer. It's an advanced feature for kind of like purists that want to have the absolute optimum control. When we're building rendering software like this, it works off one profile. So it's all developed around Fogger 51, which is a well-known international standard for what we're doing. And let me just change my environment. Go to a dark grey. So we have our file, and all looks great. Let me just make sure I'm on paper. and then I will change my foil. Let's go and have a look at that bronze again. That kind of works on this design. Hot foil stamping just to give you that edge. Okay, so looks great. Now if I look at this next to let me just bring this a bit smaller, just bear with me. If I open up a PDF file, let me just make this about the same size. Okay, so we have the same file, and like for like, it's pretty damn close. You know, the rendering that we built into it, the colour modelling is based on Fogger 51, so it's designed to try and get us as close as possible to the file. Now, my foil colouring here, I didn't know what I was going to use. I just put like a goldish colour in there, but anyway, you can see how it now looks. So overall, if you were to compare the two, you think it's actually pretty good. Now, for me, as a purist with this kind of thing with colour, I look at it and go, okay, it's very good, but I'm seeing like this blue area here. If I compare the two here, it's a little bit lacking. Now, we can't be absolutely accurate for every single person's profile. You might be using swap or some other type of profile. So the tone curve allows you to be able to change it. So every colour now can have a tone curve applied, just like what we do in Photoshop. If you go into curves in Photoshop, Command M in Photoshop, you'll be able to see it. Now, obviously Command M doesn't work in here because we're not Photoshop. So click the tone curve. That will open up a new panel, so we can actually do on the fly in real time on the 3D rendered images. We can apply tone curves to the images. So in this instance, I'm probably looking, first of all, click to set the point and then click it to move it. So I can now push that up a little bit in maybe the mid-tones, and you can see now that we've got a much more natural balance between the two. Just a simple little change. I think maybe the magenta might go up just a little bit. It might be fractional, again, just a little bit. Now we can save these, so you could save it as the magenta curve. So I don't know, mag press 1, for example. Now I'm saying that this is for a press because realistically it's a print tool. So the printer would probably do this themselves, and then they would supply you with their curve, which you can then load into your software. So if you have a printer that's using the tools and they're using the v3R software like that, then they can just download it. So you can see here we've got a little dot on it. Now I can go into any of the curves, the cyan, magenta, the yellow, or the black in here and edit those. I don't have to actually be in the layer itself. Okay, if we look at the CMYK, we can clearly see how the curve's been applied. You can't do anything with this, it's just a visual, but we can do it. Now, every spot color has its own curve. So if you're doing it with a pink or you're doing it with a silver or a gold, you can control it. So if you've got a press that fills in a little bit more in the 3/4 tone, meaning in this region around here, maybe your silver floods in a little bit, maybe you don't have actual real linearization on the press, you can dial that in. So if you want to, you can do so. So next time I load my thing, a job would come in and it will say it's identity. So identity means it's the original format of how it came in. So if I go back in here, first time I open up the thing, it's like, okay, a little bit lacking in color. I can go back to the thing that I had here. So mag press 1 on that one, and I can set the cyan on this one, cyan press curve, I think I called it on that one. So I can put the two in and make it all work. Now, if you want to remove a curve, you can just literally just click, right click on the dot and it will get rid of it. Or you can just put it in. So you can save it, you can export it and then import it, or reset it back to default. So that is the tone curves. It's designed to help you get that little bit extra dialed in there, because at the end of the day, realism is what it's all about. If we can help you get there, we will do so. So, quick recap of what we got. We have the new clear holographic rainbow foil material. We've got the pearlescent substrates. We've got the tone curves, and we've also got the new little feature identifications to identify things like down here with these little blue lines, just to cleanly identify, to help, because the more features we add on, we want to really kind of keep this all like dialed in so it's a little bit easier to follow. So there we go. If you have any questions, please do reach out to us. But if you have any feature requests that you want adding, we're always willing to listen. There's more stuff coming out in the future, so you never know, we might actually be working on it already.